You are listening to A Royal Tragedy, a production of Baseball Will Break Your Heart. Researched, written, and narrated by me, Paul J. Atwood. Produced and scored by Joe Newman. Welcome back to A Royal Tragedy, presented by Baseball Will Break Your Heart. In Chapter 1 of Part 2, we followed the Royals through the hills and valleys of their 2014 season and their seemingly disastrous return to the postseason. In Chapter 2 of Part 2, we are about to relive the biggest thriller since Thriller, as the Royals strike back in a truly wild wildcard game. Please enjoy the continuation of A Royal Tragedy. A fact largely unknown to the denizens of the Midwest, but particularly known to residents of the Pacific Coast, is an early warning sign of an imminent tsunami as witnessing the water retreat rapidly from the shore. For Oakland, the 3rd through 7th innings were the warning, and the rest was the wave. In the bottom of the 8th, the Royals would knock Leicester out of the game, scoring 3 runs on 2 singles, 2 walks, 3 stolen bases, a ground out, and a wild pitch, making the score 7-6. At the top of the 9th, Royals reliever Greg Holland worked through the top 6 of the Oakland order, allowing no runs. Liking the matchup better, Yost put Josh Willingham in to pinch hit for Moose at the top of the 9th against Oakland's Sean Doolittle, who had his own share of postseason struggles and was seeking redemption himself, vying to retire the side and head back to California to face the league-best Los Angeles Angels. Willingham hit a second pitch fly ball that dropped into right field for a single. It set off a frenzy. Baseball columnist Jeff Passan tweeted, "Good Lord Almighty, it's loud at Kauffman Stadium." The Royals and their fans were as relentless as the waves eroding the coastal cliffs of Big Sur. The A's were losing ground and struggling to contain the Royals or guard against their endless onslaught of ground balls, bunts, stolen bases, and pop-ups they somehow converted into runs. They began to look frustrated, helpless against the turning of the tide, helpless against the vast sea of blue and subject to its tempests and rages. They were rudderless and adrift in the night, their sailcloth in tatters, their courage broken, hugging the mast and praying for deliverance as God watched from atop the crown, the storm reflecting in his eyes. It was the bottom of the 9th, and the Royals were down by just a single run. Jarrod Dyson went into pinch run for Willingham at first, and Alcides Escobar went to the plate. It was a big moment to be up at the plate, representing the winning run in a wild winner-take-all game. The temptation to swing for the fences would have been hard to resist, even for a light hitter like Escobar. But this was a team built on a biblical amount of sacrifice. To see players set aside their egos and surrender themselves to Pilate day after day just to keep the line moving and manufacture wins a single run at a time was straight out of the Gospels. Jesus said, "Greater love hath no man than this, than to lay down a sacrifice bunt for his friends." Finally, the stone was rolling away and we were witnessing a resurrection. Escobar put the bunt of destiny down and Dyson flexed his mastery of tail art and stole second with ease. Then he showed the world what speed do when he stole third next. Trailing by 1 with only 1 out, Japanese baseball star Nori Aoki, the only player in Nippon professional baseball with multiple 200-hit seasons, stepped up to the plate and knocked a ball deep to right field. The widows, orphans, and 3-legged dogs that had given up on this team believed again and believed this was it, An epic walk-off home run. But it fell into the glove of Oakland's Josh Reddick. However, that was enough. Dyson tagged up at third and sprinted home, tying the game in the bottom of the ninth. The biggest inning in Royals history had been built on sacrifice, and the Royals had risen. There was no longer any room for doubt, and a city of millions believed as one. The comeback was complete, and Kansas City's fate would be determined in extra innings. When it's the top of the 10th inning and a tied winner-take-all, first-in-a-generation playoff game and you need outs, you typically turn to a pitcher whose stuff is so dirty the catcher's mitt needs to be buried under a mountain in a lead box. Unless, of course, you're Ned Yost. When Ned called Brandon Finnegan up from the bullpen, it seemed like he remembered which Gatorade cooler he left his crystal ball in. Finnegan was fresh out of college and had pitched for TCU in the College World Series a few months earlier in June. Now he was making his first postseason start on the mound in extra innings in a tied single-elimination game, and 40,000 sets of eyes were watching him, not to mention millions and millions more at home and around the globe. I guess Ned's thought process was that Finnegan was so green he would merely bend rather than break under the pressure. The hopes of Royals fans across America and one guy in Korea fell completely on his shoulders. Kansas City could not afford to give up any runs. The pitcher's mound was the only ground they had left to stand on. Finnegan, greener than the outfield grass, rose to the occasion and pitched a gem of an inning, getting 3 outs on 8 pitches. The next inning and a half with Finnegan on the mound had the feel of a middle-class shotgun wedding, tense, but ultimately uneventful. He was performing masterfully in his postseason debut. It was the kind of outing young boys dream about as they fall asleep with their gloves under their mattresses. However, in the top of the 12th, Finnegan allowed his first walk to Josh Reddick, and Jeff Lowry effectively bunted him over to second. Ned had brought the Royals this far with his unorthodox decision-making, but not without giving the crowd fits, their allegiance to their skipper waxing and waning all night long. Curses abounded when Finnegan's replacement, Josh Frazier, allowed a run on a wild pitch and a single to left. It was 8-7 Oakland. It was starting to look like Milwaukee all over again for Yost. The bottom of the 12th for many felt like the belly of the whale. All that hope that had been burning brighter and brighter, consuming the Fountain City, could be extinguished in an instant. All the new fans the scrappy boys in blue had won over in this contest wondered if this was the end, if Pinocchio and Geppetto would perish within the Leviathan. Though Eric Hosmer would later get paid $144 million by the San Diego Padres to reliably ground into double plays, there was once a time when he was the best clutch hitter in baseball. And there, in the batter's box, surrounded by the darkness of defeat, he sparked a fire. When A's pitcher Dan Otero delivered the 2-2 pitch, Hosmer lit it up. The ball spat out of the darkness and sailed far out to left center, a beacon of hope illuminating the midnight sky, burning so brightly it spawned new religions in the far corners of the earth. Looking destined for the outfield stands, it fell short, hitting the wall over the heads of Josh Reddick and Coco Crisp, who collided mid-air attempting to secure the out, and fell to the ground as the ball rolled quickly back towards the infield, just long enough for Hosmer to round second and arrive safely at third, standing up. Kauffman was, for a few moments, the loudest place on earth, and Hosmer was at the center of it, beating his chest and celebrating ferociously like a lion over a kill. Christian Colon then wasted no time whacking an aggressive chopper that bounced high and landed halfway down the third baseline, inches in front of Donaldson, as Hosmer raced home, tying the game with a dramatic head-first slide. Colon beat the throw to first, and the winning run was on. Even Oakland fans in the stands were impressed by the unkillable and uncontainable Royals. Hosmer's triple was only the second extra base hit of the game for the Royals. The day was theirs, and they knew it. Alex Gordon would come to the plate with big hero expectations, but would fly out where many of the Royals' dreams would go to die in foul territory along the third baseline. Kansas City needed a savior. Salvador Perez, who had gone 0 for 5, swinging at everything that looked like a baseball, came to the plate. With a 1-2 count on Perez, Colon was nearly picked off at first. Even people who derisively used the term sports ball could tell Colon was about to steal second, and Oakland catcher Derek Norris signaled for a pitch out as Colon took off. Norris had Colon dead to rights, but he took his eye off the ball at the last moment and it ricocheted off the web of his mitt, and Colon reached safely, making it the 7th stolen base of the game for the Royals. The winning run was now in scoring position. Please excuse the interruption. If you want to hear this entire 90-minute program without any interruptions, head over to Baseball Will Break Your Heart's Patreon and get it for free when you subscribe for just $5 a month. There you will have access to exclusive content and conversations about baseball history. And you can listen to miniature versions of features like this that explore baseball history and heartbreaks every month. Now, back to the show. It was 2 balls and 2 strikes for Perez with 2 outs and the winning run within striking distance of home. The crowd's nerves were shot. People had to work the next day, and the game had gone on so long it was nearly October. Perez battled through the at-bat, protecting the plate, swatting away foul balls, waiting for his pitch. Now, you never know when your moment is going to come, when the universe is going to call on you to do something heroic. And if you aren't ready, there will come a day when someone says your name for the last time and you fade entirely from existence. But if you hearken to the call and snatch your thread from the hands of fate, you will live forever. Salvador Perez knew this was his moment. The roaring crowd went silent. Otero threw a fastball low and outside, and Perez jumped on it, reaching far out across the plate, slapping the ball off the end of his bat and down the third base line. The hearts of millions raced so quickly, time briefly slowed as the world watched Josh Donaldson leap to his right, diving in the dirt, trying to come up with the biggest out of his life, only to watch the ball bounce past his outstretched glove as Christian Colon sprinted home. The game was over. The Royals had won. The crowd erupted, cheering and screaming, blowing out eardrums at the lower levels. Fireworks exploded in the sky above the frenzied celebrants. The intensity of the emotional outpouring destroyed so many voices the victory was spoken of only in hoarse whispers days afterwards. They had won the game and won the day. Victorious and triumphant, the Royals poured out of the dugout and onto the field, mad with joy and jubilation, chasing Perez around the bases and mobbing Colon as he touched home, sealing their victory and sealing away the sorrows of the past. The elation at Kauffman, across Kansas City, and for diaspora Royals fans everywhere was the single greatest moment of mass catharsis any group of Americans has experienced since the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Royals fans everywhere struggled to describe the emotion. Lifelong Royals fan and baseball historian Vic DeVickhurst said it was only comparable to watching the 4th of July fireworks from a stolen boat in New York Harbor after eating half a sheet of acid. It was freedom from samsara and pure nirvana. It was a glory that God and his entire host of angels envied from atop the scoreboard amidst the sparkling explosions that filled the night sky. And the devil sat sulking in the Oakland dugout, having lost his best tenants. It was finally over. 29 years of frustration, pain, incredible loss, and shameful embarrassments. Anything felt possible now. The Royals had won in the postseason and were one win closer to their long-desired coronation. They had breached the castle walls, and now it was time to fight their way to the throne room. Now that the Royals had won a playoff game, the pressure was completely off the young team. And bolstered by a truly inspirational wildcard win, the Royals went on a historic tear. They won the next 7 games in a row, sweeping the league-best Los Angeles Angels in the American League Division Series, and then they mowed down the brawny Baltimore Orioles in a 4-game sweep of the American League Championship Series, punching their ticket to the Fall Classic for the first time since 1985. They were the first team to win 8 consecutive playoff games, and Ned Yost was the first manager to win out their first 8 postseason matchups. Each win was a statement for Yost, the team, and the city, proving that they deserved to be there. They played with unshakable resolve. Of their first 5 postseason games, 4 were decided in extra innings. Mike Moustakas and Lorenzo Cain would be the breakout stars of the division and championship series. Moose, the number 9 hitter in the Royals lineup, hit the most postseason home runs in Royals history, smashing 5 beyond the fences. Mike Trout, baseball's statistical golden boy, went 1 for 12 with a single home run. Despite his impressive career stats, it is to date his only postseason hit. After the Royals finished their series sweep of the Angels at home, Eric Hosmer took to Twitter and invited the city to celebrate with him and his teammates at a downtown Kansas City bar, where they picked up the $15,000 tab to thank the fans that rallied behind them. The Royals were serving a higher purpose and were now winning baseball games simply because it was great fun and the fans and city adored them for it. Paul Rudd, Kansas City's cool big brother, invited everyone to a kegger at his mom's house after the Royals swept the Orioles. It was a non-stop celebration. Party like it's 1985 became the city's unofficial slogan. The Royals, the ultimate underdogs, stole the spotlight with their on-field heroics and became America's team, and there's nothing that Americans love more than an underdog. Lorenzo Cain had one of the most impressive postseason performances in recent memory. At the behest of Ned Yost, Cain began taking a mysterious brain and nerve tonic which was purported to be rich in proteins and electromagnetic juices and known to promote robust health and enhance performance. Raul Ibanez, who's been around the league and seen all there is to see, warned it may cause debilitating gigantism but assured Cain it was only a very rare and temporary side effect, despite ending Ken Griffey Jr.'s 1992 season. Sources say it was just Mountain Dew and Missouri River water, while others believe it was a potion concocted especially for Yost by his swamp-dwelling sorceress in whose book he had signed his name. But whatever it was or wherever it came from, Cain hit a mind-blowing .533 in the American League Championship Series and was clocked at over 20 miles an hour running down fly balls in center field. And he also recorded the only stolen base of the series. The Royals played like men possessed, like mythical heroes of old. They were larger than life and had smashed open the throne room doors. They were a dauntless team of destiny and appeared unconquerable heading into the World Series to face the San Francisco Giants. But despite the Royals' valor and grace under fire, the Giants had a true giant among them whose power and primacy were widely known and feared, standing between the Royals and the throne. Thank you for listening to A Royal Tragedy, presented by Baseball Will Break Your Heart. Coming up next week in the penultimate chapter of A Royal Tragedy, the Royals get their brooms out and clean up the American League, only to find their heroics foiled by a formidable foe, and then find themselves caught in the middle of perverse and passionate infatuations. We'll see you next week on Baseball Will Break Your Heart. A Royal Tragedy has been a production of Baseball Will Break Your Heart. Researched, written, and narrated by me, Paul J. Atwood, and scored and produced by the talented Joe Newman. Baseball Will Break Your Heart is a 2-man operation, and we need your help growing the show. So please rate and review. Tap 5 stars and say whatever you want. If you hate it, that's fine. Hit 5 stars and tell us all about it. If you hate me and you want to point out everything I got wrong, that's great. Give us a 5-star rating and just unload in the review. Not only does that help grow the show, it makes the review section fun to read, and we're here to have fun, even if it is at my own expense. Most importantly, tell your friends and family about us. Your exes and secret crushes, even strangers on the street or the person stuck next to you in traffic. Just look them square in the face and tell them, baseball will break your heart. They'll know what you're talking about. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week for the continuation of A Royal Tragedy, presented by Baseball Will Break Your Heart.